The sky above Bougainville is a furnace. August 1943. A lone F4U Corsair dives through Japanese anti-aircraft fire, its gull wing catching sunlight like a blade. The pilot is 22 years old. He's been in combat for 3 weeks. The radio crackles. Enemy fighters overhead. 6 of them. Maybe more. The young man doesn't pull up. He keeps diving. By the time he levels off, 3 Japanese fighters are burning. 2 weeks later, the Luftwaffe isn't the only air force studying this pilot. His own squadron is asking how it's possible. A boy who grew up in India, who came to war reluctant and methodical, is rewriting what the Corsair can do. Not through bravado, through calculation. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. In 17 days, he will score 20 victories. Some will call it impossible. The data will say otherwise. If this history matters to you, tap like and subscribe. The Solomon Islands in the summer of 1943 smell like diesel fuel, jungle rot, and cordite. Henderson Field on Guadalcanal is a strip of compressed coral and crushed stone, surrounded by palmettos and the graves of 1,000 previous fights. The heat is suffocating. The humidity turns the cockpit into a sweatbox. Mechanics work through the night with wrench-burned hands, torquing bolts, patching bullet holes, replacing hydraulic lines. The smell is aviation fuel, blood, and sweat. The war in the Pacific is a different mathematics than Europe. No bomber streams requiring escort discipline. No formations holding rigid geometry over enemy territory. This is knife-fight combat. Scrambles at dawn. Altitude advantage deciding life and death in seconds. The Japanese have the Zero, a fighter that can turn inside anything the Americans fly. It sacrifices armor and durability for maneuverability. American pilots who dogfight Zeros die. American pilots who use speed and dive away survive. By August 1943, the Corsair has been in combat for 18 months. Early reports were disasters. Visibility was terrible. Carrier landings were fatal. The Navy gave them to the Marines, who figured out how to use them from island bases. The Corsair has a gull wing, inverted to fit on carriers. It has a Pratt & Whitney double wasp engine that churns out 2,000 horsepower. In a dive, it accelerates like nothing the Japanese have ever seen. In a turn, it's sluggish. The pilot who understands energy, altitude versus speed, survives. The pilot who doesn't is a flaming piece of debris falling into the jungle. The losses are grinding. Every week, pilots don't return. The replacements arrive green, terrified, unprepared. Survival depends on experience, and experience is measured in missions you don't die on. By August, most veteran pilots have flown 50 or more. The ones still alive have learned to see patterns. How to read a dogfight before it starts. How to recognize the kill setup and break before it closes. But the patterns assume the Corsair is what it is, a good fighter, but not the best. The Japanese don't fear it the way they fear the P-38. It's just another American machine. Tough, yes. Fast in a dive, certainly. But not something that requires special tactics to defeat. That assumption is about to cost them. Robert Murray Hansen is 22 years old. He is thin, with dark hair, intelligent eyes, and the bearing of a man who thinks before he speaks. His father is a missionary. His mother is a missionary. Robert was born in Lucknow, India, in a house with the smell of sandalwood and the sound of Hindi prayers at sunset. He spent his teenage years in British schools, reading, studying, absorbing knowledge with the precision of someone who understands that understanding is survival. Before the war, he was a heavyweight wrestling champion in the United Provinces. Not because he was aggressive, because he understood leverage, angles, and physics. He could throw men heavier than himself by understanding where their balance would fail. He enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1941, not from patriotic fervor, from logic. The country needed trained pilots. He had the aptitude. His father asked if he was frightened. Robert said fear was a variable, not a constant. A thing that could be calculated and accounted for, like fuel consumption or turn radius. Flight training was harder than wrestling. Harder than anything he'd done. He washed out once. Sent back for remedial work. He didn't rage against it. He studied the evaluations, identified the weakness, and fixed it. His instructors noted in his file, methodical, disciplined, lacks natural aggression, may hesitate under fire. He graduated near the middle of his class. He was assigned to VMF 215 in the South Pacific. He arrived in October 1943. His first combat mission was on November 1st. He didn't fire his guns. He stayed in formation. He came back alive. His squadron mates are older. Most have 10 or 20 missions. They tolerate him. They don't know him yet. Trust is earned in combat, and Hansen has not done anything yet to earn it. He has just survived. But every night, he sits in a tent and writes in a notebook. Observations, angles, energy states. He watches film of aerial combat. He sketches diagrams of Japanese fighter tactics. He notes patterns, how Zeros commit to turns, how they follow predictable paths, how their discipline can become predictability. He does not look like a killer. Tall, lean, quiet, scholarly. He looks like a college student, like someone who would have become an engineer or a teacher. Instead, he is sitting in a tropical hell, learning the mathematics of death. By late 1943, the fighting for the Solomons has reached a crescendo. The Japanese are defending their air bases with everything they have left. Rabaul is the fortress. Bougainville is the gateway. Every day, American fighters fly missions to intercept Japanese supply runs, to escort bombing raids, to clear the skies so Marines can land on islands. Every day, Japanese fighters rise to meet them. The Japanese are veterans. They have been fighting for 2 years. Many of them flew in China, in the Philippines, in Burma. They know air combat. They know how to kill. The problem is simple mathematics. American planes arrive on station with a certain amount of fuel. Japanese planes arrive with the same. But American planes must fly home. Japanese planes often don't have to. They can fight to the last drop of fuel and still reach a friendly airbase 30 miles away. American pilots fight to the last drop and then pray. The engagement window is narrow. 20 minutes of combat. 30 if they're lucky. The Zero is superior in a turning fight. American doctrine is clear: do not dogfight. Use altitude. Use speed. Use the dive. The pilot who turns with a Zero dies. But the doctrine assumes pilots will follow it. And sometimes, when a pilot is young and aggressive and convinced of his own abilities, doctrine becomes a suggestion. And when doctrine becomes a suggestion, funerals become routine. Hansen watches this. He notes it. He does not judge it. He simply records what works and what doesn't. By early November, he has flown 7 missions. He has yet to fire his guns in anger. His flight leader asks him why he doesn't shoot more. Hansen says he's waiting for certainty. The flight leader doesn't understand. Hansen doesn't explain. In his notebook, Hansen begins writing equations. Not mathematical equations. Combat equations. Energy equations. The Corsair has 2 advantages over the Zero: speed and dive acceleration. The Zero has 1 advantage: turning radius. A dogfight in a turn favors the Zero. An engagement in the vertical, a climb or dive, favors the Corsair. But most pilots instinctively turn. It's what they're trained to do. It's what feels natural. What if, instead, the pilot never turned? What if the entire engagement was constructed around the Corsair's strengths and the Zero's weakness, the thing it can't do well? The Zero cannot climb like the Corsair. If you're faster, you can climb away. If you're slower, you can dive away. Either way, you're using the machine's advantages, not fighting its limitations. But that requires discipline. It requires not doing what instinct screams at you to do. It requires trust in the numbers. He sketches the geometry, altitude positioning, closure speeds, recovery angles. He calculates turn radius at various speeds. He notes that at above 250 miles per hour, the Corsair's turning radius becomes tighter than the Zero's. Below that speed, the Zero dominates. So never go below that speed. Build energy. Maintain altitude advantage. Use the vertical. Trust the engine. He does not tell anyone this. He does not brief his flight leader. He simply begins, on November 1st, to execute it. His first kill comes on November 1st. A Val dive bomber. Easy prey. Not relevant to the notebook. But 2 weeks later, on November 15th, he encounters a Zero. They merge in the vertical. The Zero tries to turn. Hansen climbs. The Zero cannot follow. He rolls over at altitude, dives, and gets a shot. The Zero tumbles. Confirmed kill. 2 days later, 2 more. Same pattern. Never dogfight horizontally. Always use the vertical. Always trust the climb. The Zero cannot match it. By the end of November, he has 7 kills. His squadron notices. The intelligence officers notice. The group commander notices. On December 1st, Hansen is briefed on a large formation of Japanese fighters reported inbound. The orders are simple: intercept and engage. The formation is combat air patrol for a Japanese strike package. The engagement will be over friendly territory. American pilots will have home base advantage. Some will be able to limp back even with serious damage. Hansen does not feel fear. He feels clarity. The equations are clear. The geometry is established. The machine understands what to do. He briefs his wingmen. Stay high. Maintain altitude. Never turn with them. Always climb. Always extend. The wingman nods. He understands that silence means trust. December 24th, 1943. Christmas Eve. The target is Rabaul, the Japanese fortress in New Britain. A strike package of bombers will hit the harbor. The fighters will provide escort and combat air patrol. Expected opposition is heavy. Japanese pilot skill is high. Losses are anticipated. Hansen takes off at 0600 hours. The sky is gray. Sunrise is rust-colored through the haze. 24 Corsairs form up over Guadalcanal, banking into the overcast. Below, the ocean is steel blue and empty. They cross the channel at 15,000 feet. Radio chatter is minimal. Eyes scan the empty sky. The bombers appear as a dark smudge on the horizon. The fighters slot into escort position, weaving above and behind. Altitude advantage is everything. The pilot who is higher when the enemy appears will have the first shot. Rabaul comes up fast. The harbor is a gray basin surrounded by jungle. Flak rises in black bursts. The bombers hold formation. Steady. Mechanical. Their job is to drop ordnance. The fighters' job is to keep them alive. The Japanese come from high and to the sun. Always the sun. A dozen zeros, maybe more. They come fast, diving at a shallow angle. The American fighters break upward to meet them. The sky fractures into individual fights. Hansen sees two zeros diving toward the bomber stream. He doesn't chase the leader. He doesn't engage equally. He pulls up, hard, trading altitude for position. His wingman follows. They climb into the sun, building energy, gaining altitude. The first zero pulls up after them, trying to maintain the chase. It cannot. The Corsair accelerates upward. The zero falters. Hansen rolls inverted at 18,000 feet and dives back through them. The lead zero tries to turn. Hansen is already inside the turn, firing. Tracers converge. The zero's canopy shatters. The aircraft rolls left and falls away, trailing smoke. The second zero brakes hard, trying to climb out. Hansen doesn't follow. He noses down, accelerates, and extends away. The zero climbs alone, confused. By the time it levels out, Hansen is already positioned above and behind another target. 3 more zeros are climbing toward the bombers. Hansen does the maneuver again. Climb to gain altitude. Roll inverted. Dive through. Fire. The first zero takes hits in the fuselage. Engine smoke. It dives away. Hansen doesn't chase. He extends, climbs, and repositions. In 4 minutes, he has 4 confirmed kills. His wingman has 1. The remaining Japanese fighters, disorganized and shocked, break off and head north. The bombers hold formation. Not a single B-25 is lost to fighters that day. Hansen lands at 0930 hours. His hands are steady. His pulse is normal. He walks to intelligence and files his claim. For destroyed. Gun camera confirms it. The intelligence officer counts the bullet holes, does the math, and nods. At debriefing, the squadron commander asks him what happened. Hansen describes the maneuvers methodically. Energy positioning. Vertical advantage. The zero's limitation in climb rate. The commander listens without interrupting. When Hansen finishes, the commander says, "That's doctrine now. Teach the other pilots." Every one of them. By December 25th, every pilot in VMF 215 has heard the story. The quiet kid who just scored 4 kills by not dogfighting. Some are skeptical. Some are interested. Some try it. The ones who try it start scoring kills at rates they've never seen. On December 26th, Hansen leads a combat air patrol over Bougainville. The sky is clear. Visibility is unlimited. 12 zeros are reported inbound. Hansen's flight intercepts them at 20,000 feet. The geometry is the same. Climb, don't turn. Use the vertical. The Corsair's strength is the zero's weakness. In that single patrol, Hansen scores 3 kills. His wingman gets 1. The Zeros scatter. December 27th, 2 kills. December 28th, 2 kills. December 29th, 1 kill. His wingman gets 2. December 30th, for kills. By December 31st, Robert Murray Hansen has 15 confirmed kills in 5 days. He is not the only pilot executing the maneuver. Other pilots have learned, have practiced, have begun to understand the geometry. But Hansen is the best at it. He reads the angles before they develop. He positions himself with mathematical precision. He fires only when he knows the shot will connect. If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. January 1st, 1944, 3 kills. January 2nd, 2 kills. January 3rd, shot down. His Corsair is damaged in the engine compartment. He glides toward home, managing the spiral descent, coaxing the dying engine toward friendly territory. He lands on a small airstrip with wheels down and engine smoking. He climbs out, legs shaking from adrenaline, and walks to the intelligence tent. The kill count is 25. 25 confirmed victories in 17 days. The data is compiled and forwarded up the chain. The implications are staggering. Loss rates in the fighter squadrons drop by 22% in the second week of January. Japanese tactical reports from captured prisoners and radio intercepts show confusion. The Zero pilots are being instructed to be cautious of American Corsairs diving from above. New tactics are being developed. The Japanese are adapting. But Hansen has already seen the next evolution. He has begun experimenting with formation tactics. Multiple Corsairs working in concert, one flushing the enemy into a trap, another waiting in the vertical. The Japanese have no answer for it. By February 1944, every Corsair squadron in the Pacific is using Hansen's vertical tactics. Training protocols are revised. New pilots learn it in their first week of combat. The principle becomes doctrine. Never fight the Zero in its envelope. Always use the machine's advantages. Energy management is life. The kill-to-loss ratio for Corsair units jumps from 6 to 1 to 11 to 1. Captured Japanese pilots describe the American pilots as impossibly competent, attacking from angles and altitudes where interception is impossible. Japanese engineering teams analyze photographs of damaged Zeros and conclude that the damage patterns indicate attacks from above, in the vertical plane, with no energy bleeding turn engagements. The Luftwaffe is 3,000 miles away, fighting different enemies in a different war. But military attaches will read reports of these tactics. Engineers will note that the principle applies to any fighter meeting any enemy. The physics is universal. The vertical plane is forgiving. The turning fight is fatal. By war's end, this principle has become the foundation of fighter doctrine across all American air forces. It survives into the jet age. Modern fighters still execute it. Use energy, use altitude, avoid the turning fight. Hansen himself becomes a quiet legend. Other pilots mention his name in the way men speak about someone who has seen something others haven't. Someone who has looked into the mathematics of war and understood. By February 3rd, 1944, Robert Hansen has flown 64 combat missions. He has 25 confirmed kills. He is the most successful Corsair pilot of the war. He has been offered a training position stateside. The command has told him he's done enough. He's earned rest. He flies one more mission. An attack on Japanese anti-aircraft positions on New Britain. Ground support. Low-level bombing run. Flak suppression. Dangerous work, but routine by now. His Corsair is hit. Damage report. Engine compartment. Hydraulic system compromised. He limps north, trying to reach friendly territory. The engine dies. The fuel pressure drops. He cannot make it back to Guadalcanal. He ditches in the jungle near an American observation post. The Corsair hits the canopy hard. It cartwheels. The fuselage breaks apart. Debris scatters across the clearing. Search parties find him that evening. He has internal injuries. The jungle is no place for emergency medical care. They prepare a medevac. He's conscious. He asks about his wingman. The wingman is safe. Hansen nods. He dies that night, before the helicopter arrives. He is 22 years old. The Marine Corps awards him the Medal of Honor. Posthumous. The citation reads, "For extraordinary heroism and conspicuous devotion to duty above and beyond the call of duty." It doesn't mention the vertical tactics. It doesn't mention the 17 days. It just says he was brave, and he died, and the country honors him. His body is returned to the States. His parents hold a service. His father speaks about Robert's curiosity, his discipline, his refusal to accept what others told him was possible. His mother cries, "The war is far away, but it has found her house anyway." The notebooks where Robert sketched the tactics, documented the kills, calculated the angles, are filed away. Some are lost. Some are preserved in archives. Decades later, historians will study them and marvel at the precision, the clarity of thought in the face of chaos. The F4U Corsair becomes legend. Whistling death, the Japanese called it. The gull wing that defied gravity. The engine that wouldn't quit. The machine that, in the hands of a 22-year-old missionary's son, rewrote the rules of air combat. Hanson's name appears in official histories. His photograph is in textbooks. His tactics are taught to every fighter pilot who ever comes through formation flying school. But the name fades. The tactics remain. By 1950, fighter pilots executing vertical maneuvers in F-86 Sabre jets over Korea don't think about Robert Hanson. They just do what they were taught. The physics is the same. The principle is the same. Use the machine's advantages. Trust the numbers. Stay out of the turning fight. The Corsair is retired in 1953, but 45 of them still fly today, in private hands, in air shows, in museums. When they dive, when the engine screams, when the wings cut through the air at 400 miles per hour, they are doing what Robert Hanson proved they could do. Some legacies are carved in stone. Others are written in physics and mathematics and the quiet decision to trust the numbers when instinct screams otherwise. Robert Murray Hanson was born to missionaries. He grew up in India, away from America, studying books and wrestling and the geometry of leverage. He did not volunteer to be a pilot. He volunteered to serve. When they asked him if he was afraid, he said fear was a variable, not a constant. He brought that discipline into combat. While other pilots flew on instinct, on bravado, on the belief that they could outfight any opponent through sheer aggression, Hanson brought physics. He looked at the zero. He studied its strengths and its weaknesses. He understood that a dogfight in a turn was a dogfight the zero was designed to win. But a dogfight in the vertical was a fight the Corsair could win. So he never fought the zero's fight. He fought only the fights he could win. And he won 25 of them in 17 days. The enemy pilot who sees a Corsair diving from altitude toward him knows what's about to happen. He cannot climb fast enough. He cannot turn tight enough. He cannot do anything but take the bullets and die. That's not because Hanson was the most aggressive pilot in his squadron. He wasn't. It's because he was the most disciplined. He understood that victory isn't won by those who are the fastest or the strongest or the loudest. It's won by those who see the pattern, test the hypothesis, and act when the math is certain. When he died, his squadron kept flying. Other pilots executed his tactics. The Corsair kept killing. The war kept going. The physics kept working long after Robert Hanson was gone. Some legacies are remembered by name. Others are written into doctrine. Others become so fundamental, so obvious, that nobody even thinks to ask where they came from. But somewhere in a classroom where fighter pilots are learning energy management and vertical tactics, somewhere in a training film showing a dive attack from above, somewhere in the muscle memory of a pilot pulling up instead of turning, Robert Hanson is still there, still flying, still calculating, still proving that the most dangerous opponent is not the one with the fastest reflexes or the steadiest hand. It's the one who brings the math to the fight. Thank you for watching. For more detailed historical breakdowns, check out the other videos on your screen now and don't forget to subscribe.